All right, so today I'm Tom, and we've got Sridhar with us as well, and we're going to be presenting some really cool new features of Snapshot that we're really excited about. So just for those of you that aren't already Snapshot customers and are checking Snapshot out, just a quick one slide here about what Snapshot is. Today, we're really going to focus on the new features that we've added, but did want to give everyone just a real quick overview of the entire tool. So if you really look at Snapshot, it is really an end-to-end org management solution. And it's really designed for Salesforce admins or whoever's managing the org in Salesforce. And it covers a lot of bases. We have very comprehensive org documentation, so we can document the schema and the process, things like data dictionaries or documenting your sharing rules or your workflows, all that metadata documentation that you really can't do in Salesforce. And as part of that, we can document all of your technical debt. So where, what's not being used, all those unused fields and groups and queues and roles and email templates. And right from within those reports, you can take action and delete the things that aren't being used, and everything's backed up for rollback and everything's logged. We also have a set of tools that will document your profiles and your permission sets. So that's a very complex piece of metadata, and we map it out into a matrix where you can compare it, edit it, see security by user, really do all the things you need to do to manage your security model. And as part of all this, we also do user management. This is doing things like, if a user became inactive or moved to another role, we could take any of the metadata connections like dashboards or workflows. We could take any of the data connections. Maybe they've got cases or opportunities linked to them, and we could map that to another user. So if you look at the things we really do, lots of ways to document the structure of your org and understand how it's put together, find where your technical debt and your bloat is and clean that up, help manage your users. We're going to see our great new impact analysis tool today, which will tell you if you change a piece of metadata, what does that mean for the rest of the org? And then we also are a full release management and data migration tool as well. So, all of the things that would functionally replace something like change sets, just give you a lot of power and a lot of functionality that you don't get with something like change sets. And then moving data as well. So if you need to, put data in a refresh sandbox or grab some training data from production, maybe scramble some sensitive fields, drop it in a sandbox for the dev team, whatever your data moving use case may be, we can cover that as well. So when you really look at it, Snapshot is a power toolbox. It's a toolbox full of the tools that you really need to manage the whole life cycle of your org. And, we really address it with all the things that you need to do in an org before you would move into a release cycle, and then also give you the tools to manage that release as well if need be. Okay, so that's Snapshot. It's a very comprehensive tool, and we'd love to show it to you, but today we're really going to focus on some of the new things that we've added to it here in the last couple of months. So that would be our new features. And today we're covering really three major new features. We might sneak an extra one in there for you as a surprise. But one that we're really excited about is the impact analysis report. We now have a visual workflow that'll let you start with any piece of metadata and see all the dependencies that come before or after that piece of metadata. And really the idea here is that if you're going to change a piece of metadata or delete it or something like that, you can really see the impact across the entire org of that. And it's a visual tool that lets you export the visuals as well as a report of it if you need that as well, and even bring what you see in that impact analysis report into a job list if we're doing an actual deployment or release. So we'll take a good look at that today. We've got our new Lightning security report. It's a very tough thing to do in Salesforce if you've had to do it, to see where all of your Lightning record pages are located by custom app, by record type, by profile. This report does a great job of laying all that out for you. Again, something very tough to do, out of the box in Salesforce, and this is exciting for people that are working with Lightning security. And then also we're going to take a look at our license and expense management report. This is a report that lets you really look across all of the licenses, whether they're Salesforce licenses, whether they're package licenses of some sort, and we can do things like show you how they're assigned, show you unassigned licenses, show you people that maybe have a feature assigned but don't have the necessary licenses assigned to them, and it'll let you fully enter and predict and estimate your cost, find hidden cost savings, those kind of things. So really just all the tools you need to manage, the licenses and the expense related to them inside of the Salesforce org. So we're going to really focus on those three today. And to do that, we're going to bring in Sridhar here, who's the brains of the operation, and he's going to take us through that demo. So let me hand things off to Sridhar here.
Thank you, Tom.
There you go, sir. You've got control.
I got the power. Awesome. So I've just started sharing my screen. So let's jump right into this. So Tom introduced Snapshot, and he said we're going to be focusing on 3 features. Let's start with the first one. So what I have here is a couple of sandboxes connected to my production org, and I have also another of my sandboxes brought in here to talk about the Lightning security stuff. I also have connected Azure DevOps, one of my repositories here, to my dev sandbox. We're going to ignore that for now. We're going to focus on my developer sandbox. What I have here is a problem. I have an object that is created that is now ready to be deployed, but I need to understand all the dependencies to it. And typically, I would want to go into a data dictionary to document every part of it. But I also want to see other things that come into it as well as going out from it. And a lot of this stuff is typically preferred to be seen visually, which is why we created impact analysis. Impact analysis helps you see anything, an object, a field, a email template, whatever you're choosing. In this case, I'm choosing my also famous account object. And I can bring in any metadata that I want right here, filter things down, and then see the dependencies. It crunches through the entire metadata backup and then draws a chart out that shows me all the incoming dependencies as well as the outgoing dependencies. Now, what does that mean? This means here are a bunch of different fields, could be email templates, whatever, that refer to my account object. And the account object in turn turns around and refers to other things. Could be global value sets, could be groups, could be roles, whatever, which then could have their own dependencies, right? The way we have set this up is first, obviously, it's all very visual. And you can now go in and browse down or up the chain to see other dependencies to this. So you could have account, having other things depend on that, and those things can have other dependencies, or you can keep going the other way as well. An account is focusing on 2 of my global value sets, and this is all grouped, and those things could be used in other things. So essentially, you could keep going up or down the hierarchy that shows you what are the different dependencies and where those things are being used and whatnot, right? Couple of other things we have brought in. Now, as you are browsing through this stuff, there are reasons why you might want to go back and see how did that dependency really affect. For that, we can choose anything that you want and trace the path. So I'm just right-clicking here and choosing tracing the path. And what that does is it shows me, hey, this is a opportunity close date that's actually grouped up into dates, which is now being referred back by the account object. So it kind of goes back up, and then any of the grouping stuff we can see this way, right? You can control the groupings right here. Whatever you are seeing, you can also export the picture. So this is especially useful if you are drawing an ER diagram. Or take an example of an email template. I choose an email template, I can see all the fields that are contained in that email template. Or even better, flows, right? Trying to understand all the different components of a flow is a lot of fun. This can chart all of these things for you, because if a flow is calling another flow, it'll call it out. If a flow is calling out to an email template, boom, you will see one of these charts right here, right? Any part of this can be browsed through, seen right here. You can export all of the stuff as a picture or focus on just that one piece of metadata, export that. Along with all of that, what we have also done is defined deployment boundaries, that which we call job list in Snapshot. So what does that mean? So imagine a situation where you've completed a feature, right? A bunch of objects, and objects have fields, they have workflows, they have page layouts, and they have all been grouped into whatever tabs. Tabs are grouped into apps. Trying to understand all the dependency and selecting them for deployment is going to be a lot of fun, right? Is that possible? Absolutely. You can do the diff and then select things based upon a diff. Whereas with impact analysis, you choose the application. The application will have various tabs there. It will bring down all those tabs. Those tabs will have objects to fields. It'll chart everything out as a nice little matrix, and you just have to right click and say export the job list, which will then create a job list of all of this metadata that can just be saved and brought in to your deployment interface, so you can deploy one clean deployment without having any problems whatsoever, right? For those guys who are keyboard jockeys like me, yes, we have enabled keyboard navigation as well. So as you can see, as I'm moving through left or right here, the gray panel just keeps moving and you can kind of move back and forth as well, right? You can also go into a report, which will export the whole thing out in a textual matrix-based approach there. So you can export that out and send it out to the Excel folks as well, right? So that's one of those things that we have made. And this has made a very big difference to those visual people who are looking for ER diagrams and tracing dependencies across your entire org. That's the impact analysis. The next part here, wanted to jump over to talk about some of the license expense management, right? So this is something that we actually talked about the last new features webinar as well. But Sridhar, why are you bringing this back up? And here is the reason why I'm bringing this back up. We've made some major changes here to help you guys understand the reason why something is being accessible or something that is not being accessible. So first, what does this do? The license part of it is right here. You can select any user that you want, and you can see the license they've been assigned. So in this case, Bill has been assigned a Salesforce license that came through because of the profile he's been assigned to, custom standard user in this particular setup. I can see permission set licenses that has been assigned to him, manage package license assigned to him, and feature license. These are, of course, the Salesforce features. As I jump between my users, you can see the setup change. What does that mean? I can go have the ability, just like I had the ability with user permission assignments, to change the permissioning right here or license assignment right here and persist all of that stuff within Salesforce very, very, very easily. Right? Imagine having a new product brought in, a financial force or whatever. You can just as easily go select the permission set license, assign it to multiple people as you would want, versus that. So assign permission licenses or take them away that easily. Right? This is what you already have. What have we done to enhance that? We went one step beyond that using select reports. I can go look through all of these licenses in a matrix fashion, select any parts of it, package license, feature license, org license, whatever, will be able to tell you how many you have, how many has been used, how many has been remaining, right? That's for starters. Same deal for other things as well. How many of them are actually assigned to users? And more importantly, you'll be able to assign a cost to it to help you keep track of those costs. Right? The way you would assign costs is simply right click and then go into manage expense. This gives you the ability to go assign a cost to it. It could be a Salesforce license. I gave it a random cost of $1,800 a user, or you can track usage information and then assign costs based on that usage as well. Right? So per user, per use model, whichever model you're going with, you can go assign a cost and keep track of those costs, because we keep track of both. This is the per user cost. So 2 licenses of $5,000 each, and total license cost is $10,000 here. Whereas if you see the particular user, the user has been using this particular license 2,400 sometimes. So if there's a usage-based cost, that will be assigned against that, and the total cost will be calculated. So you get the ability to not just see license usage, but also the costs associated with that. Right? And that can be done for any part of it, features, packages, orgs, permission set-based licenses, whatever you choose. Now, we went one step beyond that as well, especially where it concerns permissioning and license combined. Now, what does that mean? Let's say I have some users here where I have assigned some licenses and given them permissions to go use it. But somebody comes to you and says, hey, I cannot use certain features I've assigned. So let's say this guy, Bill here, is expected to go modify my contracts. Take a look at, can I focus on this activate contract permission? This thing computes all their permissions and tells you this guy is not allowed to go modify my contracts because he's not been assigned a license, right? But on the flip side there, I could have looked at my permissions and given him the permissions for that. In other words, I have given them the right permissions through profile or permission set or whatever licenses to set it up the right way. But if they are not able to go access the feature, do the relevant expected thing, this helps you figure out why. Permissions looks at the permissions part of it and figures out what they're allowed to do or not. The license looks through all of the permission set licenses, any other licenses you've assigned, feature licenses you've assigned to the user to figure out what they are allowed to do or not. And in fact, you can combine it in differences to figure out whether where the problem is coming from. All of these guys, they are allowed to do a whole bunch of different things. But if you see Bill, he does not have the ability to go activate contracts because he needs a license, the relevant license to go activate that contract. If he had the license but not the permissions, he would actually say that as well, needs permissions to go activate that contract. So gives you the ability to zero in on the problem, whether it's a license-based problem or a permissions-based problem, and gets you moving really, really fast. Because with that information, I can always switch over to user permission assignment or the assigned licenses part of it and set the relevant things to get him going. That productivity is what we are focusing on here, right? You can look at it en masse right here or focus on the particular user and figure out where the permissions are coming from. Permissions, licenses, where the problem is, everything is drilled down and given to you on a silver platter. Everything like before is exportable to Excel, or you can also schedule it to keep an eye on people that are potentially using some high value licenses and such. Again, what are we talking about here? We are talking about the ability to focus on various types of licenses, org licenses, permission set licenses for your managed package, package licenses for your managed packages, there, feature licenses, wherever the licenses are coming from, you can manage it right here, as well as go figure out where that license came from, and if there are problems using that license, or if they comfortably able to use that license or not. That's the license expense management. Third part of it is the Lightning record pages security that Tom talked about. Now, what does that entail? You have the ability to go in and create these various flexi pages and then give people access to that from an org perspective or an app default perspective, tab default perspective, or you can control it every which way that says, for this particular record type, for this particular profile, give access to this flexi page or not. Now, that's all great, but what happens when it comes to documenting them for compliance reasons or trying to debug them? That's really where this report comes into play. I'm going to use one of my orgs right here to go look at Lightning security. That's coming from the security part of it. And it's going to walk you through that. There are various ways I can look at it. I'm looking at it from an override perspective. These are the things that are overridden. it looks at it from a org default perspective, tells me what flexi page that I have created, what is it overriding, in this case, my standard homepage, and there are no other parts of it. It's going to show this stuff large view there for a particular tab that I'm interested in, which is my home tab. But then there are other kinds of overrides you might have. You could have some visual force overrides in case you have people still using Classic. Or if they moved over to Lightning, there could be some Lightning components that are overriding other things there. In certain cases, like your edit buttons or view buttons or new buttons, it also looks into those kinds of security assigned to those overrides there and then display that as well. Now, your flexi pages that you create is not necessarily pertaining to your org default. It could be an app default, or it could be narrowed down by record type as well as profile. It brings that information, it crunches through that information as well, and then shows me exactly how somebody got access to something or not. So you're essentially going to be reading this report top to bottom to tell you exactly how they got access to some flexi page or not, right? This is all exportable with a right click. So again, the whites are focusing on org defaults. The greens are focusing on overrides, whether it comes from a Classic focus there or Lightning focus, focusing on Lightning components. The yellow ones are focusing on app defaults. I go to the sales page, here is my app default, or I go to the service service app there. So instead of my service console, I have set this up to go look at my various cases, whatever setup that you might have, it walks you through that. If you want to look at the same data in different ways, this information can be rejiggered by going through the other parts of it. So if I want to go look at override source, all it's doing is picking up that relevant column and then moving it so you can focus on that particular aspect of it. I'm looking at accounts or the standard homepage, whatever be that. Or override content types there. I want to focus on visual force pages or Lightning components or other flexi pages, or I want to focus on a particular record type. It brings in the relevant information, puts that in front of you so you decide how you want to move forward. By the way, folks, as I'm browsing through the stuff, this is all editable as well. I can right click, go into an editing palette, and then change that information. Select anything, I can go change that information right here and write that back to Salesforce using that smart deploy interface. Okay. So that is all built in as well. The last but not least, and here is my one more thing that we recently brought in, we always had the ability to go view profiles or permission sets and edit these things. We also have brought in the ability to merge profiles under user permission assignments. We have now, with a recent change, brought in the ability to merge anything you want. A profile with the permission set based security, or two permission sets, whatever you want, through the same interface, user permission assignments. So user permission assignments was previously set up to help you browse through various users, see what profile they've been assigned to, permission set groups they've been assigned to, permission sets they've been assigned to. Here, if you are looking at permission sets or profiles, whatever, you can go edit these things right here, right? I can look at permissions and say, oh, okay, this contact guy, I need to give him a little bit more permission. So you can either do that within view permission sets or view profiles, or I can do it right here, right? Now that interface has been extended using Calculate. This gives you the ability to compare anything, merge it or diff it, or pick up one part of it but not the other, however you want to go about it. I can look at two different profiles or two different permission sets, just select them. account redraft on one side, approve contract on the other. It looks through that permission and gives you the ability to combine them, diff them, pick up only the intersection there. However you want to go process them, you can process them, pick up the relevant material, and you can see how things are set up, bring them. Oh, that's because I selected the wrong one. There we go. I can go select all the relevant one, bring that in, and then when I click OK, it's going to update my permission set in this particular case with the relevant security. Gives you extremely flexible ability to combine profiles, permission sets, profiles with permission sets, however you want to set that up, and rapidly optimize your security. We can talk about more of this stuff through support. As always, reach out to us. We can give you more information, walk through some scenarios, and help you guys use Snapshot to the fullest. With that, handing it back to you, Tom.
Thank you, Sridhar. Can you pass me the host rights there, and I'll share our contact info. I know most of our customers on here know how to find us, but we have some folks that aren't that may be interested. So if you'll right click and go up to me there, Sridhar, and go to more and make host, please.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Thank you, sir. All right, so let me just share my screen here with everybody. All right. Okay, so while we're doing that, we'll go through some of the questions that we've got. We've had a few come in, by the way. If you guys have questions, you please feel free to put those in the Q&A or the chat is fine, but wherever you would like, and we'll feed those along. So the first question is, do these new features add cost to Snapshot? And the answer is no. I think we've always done this with Snapshot, but we've always looked at it as a big toolbox full of a bunch of awesome stuff that you need to manage the whole life cycle of the Salesforce org. And for the cost that you pay for Snapshot, you get all of it. We don't piecemeal it out. So as we roll in these cool new features, you have them and you can use them. And everything you saw today has been pushed into Snapshot, so you should have it available to you to use today. Now, I know obviously we kind of gave you an overview of what they did today, but you may want training or help for your use case. So please remember, if you're a Snapshot user, from your support menu, you can get in the live chat if you have a question, or if you want to schedule training, there's a schedule training link there as well. You can do as much training as you want throughout the life cycle. So if you want to get up to speed on some of these new features, just go ahead and fire them our way, and we'll take care of them. So a couple other things here. Someone else has asked, all right, I'm getting there. Can I know how many users utilize Lightning over Classic, i.e. 50% users use Lightning, 50% still use Classic? I don't think that's something that we do at this point, do we, Sri? Or is that something that they can get out of the report?
That's not something that we are focusing on today. The Lightning Analyzer, I believe it's called, in Salesforce actually will walk you through that. We don't jump into that, but if you are in the process of moving to Lightning, we can help you with that process of helping you understand what fields are going to be displayed in what page layout, and optimize that so that it appears much better in Lightning, and other technical data analysis, so you can use Lightning much better. So we can definitely help you with the move to Lightning, but the analysis itself as to who is using Lightning, what percentage, et cetera, is done in Salesforce.
Yeah, I think there's already a pretty good report for that. Thank you, Sri. So I've had a couple people ask, is there a recording of this and will it go out to participants? And the answer is yes and yes. Yeah, we recorded it, and maybe a day or so, but everyone who registered for the session will receive the recording. So no worries there. You will have this if you want to watch it again or share it with your coworkers. So one other question here, Sridhar, about the impact analysis. Is there a limitation on what metadata the impact analysis will show? And I think the answer to that is that we we show all of the metadata for impact analysis that is supported by the Salesforce API. So, looking at it from that perspective, it's comprehensive. That's correct, right, Sridhar?
Yeah, that's right. Any of the hard references there, we can go figure all that stuff out. We actually use 4 different APIs to gather as much information as we can from Salesforce. And then we have a bunch of custom algorithms that go on top of that to get you guys either extended access or better dependency analysis, and then we will chart it out. So no known limits. Of course, that assumes that you have the ability to capture the metadata through the metadata API. So as long as we can see the metadata, we'll be able to analyze that and show you the dependencies to it.
Yeah, and just to add to that, we like to do a little brag here. We think we have the most comprehensive impact analysis report out there. Just using the Salesforce dependency API, which some other impact analysis tools use, doesn't get you everything. We actually use that plus the other APIs and our backups of the org, the snapshots of the org, metadata to search everything and build out a real complete look at what you're getting. So should do as good as you can for impact analysis, I think, with Salesforce. We got another question here. It says, we have a large org. Is there a way to create a snapshot with more than 10,000 assets? Yes, this is the famous Salesforce metadata API limit. When you hit 10,000 things, it stops you. But Snapshot was designed with a really cool grouping feature where once it hits that limit, it goes and gets another retrieve and others beyond that if need be, and then stitches them all back together to give you one big cohesive backup. And I'll say this, we have, a little over 60 of the Fortune 500 as customers. So some of the Snapshot customers we have literally some of the most gargantuan orgs that exist for Salesforce. Orgs that, when capturing the metadata, hit that 10,000 limit over and over and over and over and over again. And once we get their grouping sorted out and they get it all set up, they can just take as many backups as they need because we'll take all the necessary retrieves and then stitch it together like one nice big cohesive backup. So yes, we definitely support large orgs and have done so for quite a while. All right, I don't think I see other questions at this time. I'll give it just one more second here in case anyone wants to fire another one in. And while we're doing that, I'll just say thank you everyone very much for the session today. We appreciate it. We'll get a recording out to you that will show you that you can use to show with coworkers if need be. And remember, if you are interested in a demo, we have all of our contact information there, how to follow us in Twitterland, all of that kind of stuff. And if you're an existing customer, remember that support menu if you'd like to set up a training session to dive deeper on any of the features that you saw today. Thanks, everybody. Have an awesome week. We'll talk to you soon.